Do you feel like you live in the same day over and over again and you're just walking through hell? I know I've been there. And that's why I started Level 5 Life and Energy, because I went through hell. And I went through being completely disconnected, where it doesn't matter what I was doing, I couldn't create that change that I desired in my life. I wasn't effective anymore. My relationship suffered. I wasn't in alignment. And I knew it. But what I didn't know how to do was change it. What I didn't have was a support group or anybody that I could talk to say, man, this is what's weighing heavy on my heart. And I don't know if you ever feel that way. But if you are feeling that way right now, if you're feeling like you've built something incredible for your life, you put your heart and soul into something, you know where you should be, but you're no longer in alignment with the things that got you to the place that you are today, and you understand at some point that's gonna cost you, there's gonna be consequences to that. I've been there. I understand that, and the consequences are real. So our focus at Genergy Level 5 Life is to ensure that you don't have to live that you can break free from that you can become in alignment and become focused, and also have a group of men that are alongside of you in that journey. They can hold you accountable, that brotherhood to call you out, to keep you moving. Like when we're working out and we got to hit that one more rep. But if we're by ourselves, do we hit the one more rep? But when we're together, we get that extra little boost. And that's what Level 5 Life is all about. Putting people together that desire to create a better life for themselves, that no longer are okay just being okay, and no longer will live with maybe an identity that doesn't serve them. Maybe you went through a divorce. Maybe it broke you. Maybe your father, your mother, somebody died. Maybe you had a business that failed. Maybe you feel like you're the only one and you're carrying all the weight. I promise you, you're not alone. And that's why we developed Level 5 Life, because we all need each other. And if we have a framework, if we have a system that we can implement that can help break us out of those patterns, that create that change, can change our lives, that's what we're here to do. Why I created Level 5 Life is because I've been through some high highs and some low lows in life. From the little kid dealing with a mother that had on meth, to being raised by a single father, to growing up, and sports was my salvation. Understanding that I do have value as a person, found that discipline, found that success, knew that pain I could turn into my biggest gift. I was able to channel that into sports, and I found success. I found confidence through that. Then I found success at a young age in real estate. I was able to create a business and become a millionaire at the age of 23. At 23, I had a 10,000 square foot house, Lake Tapps in Washington, a sand beach, a boat on the dock, $100,000 vehicles, everything that you could desire to create that I envisioned in my mind came true. I was living the American dream, and I was so grateful for it. And then one day, I was on my motorcycle. I was going up this hill on this highway, and it came to this crest. And when I got on my bike, it was the best feeling. It didn't matter what was going on. I was able to check out and be present. That was my stress relief. But this day, as I went over that crest, there was a truck that was stopped and had to yield to make a left turn. And I'm going over, and right at the last second, that truck made a decision that changed the course of the rest of my life. And it pulled out in front of me. And I knew right before I hit that there was nothing I could do to change the outcome, whether I was alive, whether I was dead, or whether I was paralyzed. And I went 45 miles an hour head first in the side of the truck. Split my helmet open, my whole arm, bone was outside, almost had my arm amputated. But what was crazy about it is the first person on scene was a trauma nurse. I was a mile away from the fire station, and the surgeon on call just happened to be a top 5 world-renowned elbow specialist. Only reason I have my arm today. They told me within 3 years I would have so much arthritis, I wouldn't even be able to use it. That was in 2008. Still work out every day. So we were only limited by our mind and our belief. And from that, I could have just folded up. Could have been, why? Why me? And through that long road of recovery and being prescribed Oxycontin, Ambien, all those different things, I realized that that wasn't in alignment. It was changing who I was. And I also saw friends that overdosed, family members affected by it. I had a best friend, manager of Bank of America, with 2 kids that ended up robbing 8 banks to support it. So I said, I'm not taking this anymore. But I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, and I found cannabis, plant medicine, to help me recover. And it didn't fix everything, but it allowed me to get back to sleeping, better quality of life. So back then, it wasn't legal, there wasn't stores like there is now, and I saw this vision. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna put my energy into this, and I'm gonna do 2 things. 1, create awareness that there's a better alternative, and 2, to create safe access. So then I dedicated my life to that pursuit over the next 10 years. And during that 10 years, it was an incredible 10 years, helped a whole bunch of people. We built a company that at the peak was top 6 retail in all of California, which would probably be all of the world, and then top 17 brand in all of California as well. Built that up to an 8-figure business per year and had an incredible run with it. And then COVID happens, and I'm managing 100 employees. And it's me as a CEO and my ex-wife as a COO. And during that process, my grandma, which was like my mother growing up because my mom wasn't there, she passes away, and I'm carrying this weight. Then I realized that my relationship's no longer in alignment, and I have to make that decision that I'm not going to continue to live a life that's not meant for me, not a life that didn't feel in alignment anymore. And I went through a divorce. And then I said, you know what, let me get in alignment. I'm going to spend more time with my father. My father raised me, he was my hero growing up, and we became disconnected. And literally 3 months later, my father passes away. So in 6-month period, I go from running an 8-figure company, 100 employees, to my grandma dying, going through a divorce with my business partner and my wife, and my father passing away. And it just felt like it was never stopping. And the weight and the pain was unbearable. And I felt every day I'd be waking up at 2 a.m. just gasping for breath. And I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but I know I have. And if you are feeling that way, that's why I am here right now, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is change, because it took so long for me to understand that I was worthy. That because I became in such a bad place, going through all that and then watching the business on this decline, because I could no longer make the change that I could before. I could no longer show up as my best self and make impact like I've always been able to in my life, because I was no longer me. I was no longer in alignment with my values. I was in such a bad place mentally, physically, spiritually, that I was on a loop. And as much as I tried to break out of it, I just felt alone. And I didn't know that there was people like what we've created now with Level 5 Life, with G-Energy. I didn't know that that even existed. And I didn't have a brotherhood. And so now my mission from that pain and being one day at 2:30 in the morning on my balcony, done, ready to end my life, making a decision as I felt this wave come over me, that I am going to end my life. That moment was the last moment of that identity. And if I was willing to end my life, then I was going to live the rest of my life without fear, without the things holding me back, without me being so fearful of letting other people down that I ended up letting everybody down. And that was a hard lesson learned. And the next day, I went down to Mexico and I went out on this bridge and I leapt. And when I left, I bungee jumped. 3, 2, 1, jumped with no fear, completely calm. And as I went down and I landed on the bottom, I completely released everything. Anything that I was holding on to, that resentment, that anger, that fear, that was the beginning of the change. Then I started going down to Mexico, volunteering at these orphanages, because I knew I needed to live a life that was bigger than myself. Then I started diving into, how do I ensure that I don't get back to that place? How do I not get myself back in that same pattern that I was in? And it wasn't easy. It wasn't a short period of time. It took intention day in and day out, but I set that intention. And I read some incredible books like Think and Grow Rich, The 5 a.m. Club, Happy Pocket Full of Money, and Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and a bunch of others. And I learned, and I became a student of just myself and what it takes to take yourself from the bottom and rebuild yourself piece by piece, even when it's painful, even when your identity is still in shambles, even though you still are that, you're living the life that that person was living, even though you don't identify with that anymore. Everybody else and everything else continues to carry that same weight, but you're moving forward. And how do you create that when you're living a new identity, but you're not seeing the shift happen? How do you carry that forward and keep that faith and finding that faith and that purpose? And so through that pain, I said, I'm going to make sure that other people don't have to feel alone. That if we are going through that down cycle, we shorten what that is. It doesn't have to be where you're standing on the balcony at 2:30 in the morning, ready to end your life. Because there's a change that can happen right now. And that changes your identity. That changes how you think and talk to yourself. And what you believe your life to be is what you will create it to be. It's just like Ford said, Henry Ford, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way you're right, but it starts right here. It starts right here in your soul and in your mind, and understanding how you speak to yourself, why you're speaking to yourself that way, and living with that intention. And I had to go through some really dark places. And then I was able to attract the love of my life, person that was so in alignment that we started this journey together through Genergy. And now through Level 5 Life with Brotherhood, to ensure other men do not have to go through that isolation alone, do not have to struggle for as long as I had to struggle. They can break free from that through a proven system that I went through, that I built brick by brick through my pain, so that you don't have to feel that same pain. And so that's why I'm here today. And that's why I show up and I wake up every day at 3:30 in the morning, because this is my mission. And it's not just called by me. I felt tapped by God. And I'm grateful for that. But that's a huge and a heavy responsibility. And I don't take that lightly. And that's why I'm here with all my energy and all my heart, and everything that I can give, I'm giving. And if there's any way I can support you, please reach out. Let me know. Shoot me a DM. Shoot me a message. And I will get back to you, because you are worthy. You are worthy. Doesn't matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter the stories that people say. It matters right now. And we have the opportunity to take those past pains, to take those past failures, to take those past wrongs, and we can apply them into this moment. We say, you know what? No more am I that version of me. No more am I going to continue to identify that way. No more am I going to allow this energy over here to affect who I am moving forward. Because right now is where you can control. And if this resonates with you, reach out. And we're here for you. And that's the Level 5 Life way. Building brotherhood, building community, building an intention, and we give back through service. And through service, through giving back, is how we really get fed. It's how we really inspire ourselves, and how we gain perspective. Because sometimes our perception can be pretty fucked up, be pretty off. But when we gain that perspective, we go down to Mexico, we build a home for a family, we go feed the kids at the orphanage, go play soccer with them. We see that joy and that spirit, even though they don't have barely anything. But the amount of gratitude, the energy, the laughter, the playfulness, they got that in spades. So if you're feeling out of alignment, if you're feeling like you're living that same day over and over again, and you just don't feel good about that, and you don't desire that anymore, and you want that change, that's why we made Level 5 Life. Hope to talk to you soon.